Okay, so I had this really interesting conversation today in regards to the history of the future of business continuity and disaster recovery planning. All right, so for those who don't know, BCP stands for Business Continuity Planning. It's planning. Here, I'll read from to borrow from a page of Wikipedia. Business continuity planning is planning which identifies the organization's exposure to internal and external threats and synthesizes hard and soft assets to provide effective prevention and recovery for the organization whilst maintaining competitive advantage and value system integrity. Basically, we got to make sure things are, something goes boom, we got to continue our business and make sure that we don't impact our integrity, our reputation, etc. Now, disaster recovery planning is the process, policies, and procedures related to preparing for recovery or continuation of technology infrastructure critical to an organization after a natural or human-induced disaster. So, natural like, I'm in Victoria, on Vancouver Island. Think of a Cascadia-type earthquake or event, or human-induced hackers, disgruntled employees, virus, malware, worms, Trojans, rootkits, etc. Higher probability recurring, human-induced. Most significant impact, I'd say a natural event. But the point is the debate was, will BCP and DRP go the way of, let's say, electrical managers? For those who don't remember, there used to be managers who managed the electrical usage, the power usage of a company. It's not really the case anymore, right? So the argument was, a BCP manager, he doesn't, a BCP or a DRP resource, he or she doesn't, they don't sit down and whenever they don't sell anything, they don't, they're not involved in product development, they don't create revenue, they don't create products, they don't create or build up financial statements usually. Same thing with the DRP resource. He or she won't be included in how do we make our product better or how do we sell our products better. They're usually internal facing, a closed looped internal perspective. So what do I think? Well, first, what does everybody else think? I find that a lot of people feel that BCP and DRP is a luxury item. Actually, that was the exact quote of a particular resource. Yeah, So, if it is a luxury resource, I ask you this question. If something goes bump in the night and you need to recover that, is that considered a luxury item? Or is it considered an absolute have-to-have item? Come on. Seriously. You have to have that. It's not, when we get a chance to do it, or it'd be really nice to have, or maybe, a portion of that, maybe later on when we get a chance, because we're firefighting, right? All right, so from that perspective, I can understand why they think BCP and DRP may end. I don't think it's going to end. I think it's going to change labels. I mean, if anybody who works in governance or regulatory or compliance auditing, they can tell you, everybody and the mother has a standard. What standard do you follow and why? And what justifies? What return on investment do you get on that? And what kind of holistic management or governance do you have for your organization? How do I make money? And how do I make sure that I'm profitable over a longer period of time and I have the least amount of risk? It's all about risk mitigation. It's all about, I want to make money, and I want to make sure that I reduce or mitigate the risks associated with me making money. Simple as that. Now, just layman's terms right there. BCP and DRP is never going to die, right? It's just going to be integrated into everyday operations. And what does that mean? That means that when I create, let's say I'm a CIO, a Chief Information Officer, I have to make sure that risk mitigation is addressed both in my IT infrastructure as well as the products or services that I provision both internally and externally to clients. So internally to my company, externally to clients, I need to mitigate those risks, and I need to make sure what is important to me. A CEO, he wants to know what the bottom line is. What is my profitability? How long do I, how much time and investment do I have? What is my return on investment? We're thinking financial analysis. CFO is the same thing. They want to know financial management. They want to know the costs, not only just the capital costs of a particular expenditure, but also the operational costs, which are sometimes many times more than your initial capital costs. So, for those of you not in the business world, I'll tell you right now, operational costs far outweigh capital expenditures when it comes to infrastructure, both from a procedural and process and human asset perspective, as well as from a technical perspective. So, moving on, why do I think how do I think it's going to be integrated into operational perspectives? So I'm a CEO. I need to make sure that the products and services that I deliver are competitive, and I need to make sure that I'm profitable. So how do I do that? Well, profitable, I want to make sure that I lower my costs, and I want to make sure that I'm competitive. I want to make sure that I provision services at or above what the industry tends to expect. So I need to have some kind of baseline. I need to have metrics. Metrics are like critical success factors, key performance indicators, operational and procedural metrics. Those are a what they call a MARS perspective, a monitoring, alerting, reporting solutions perspective. How do I maintain my operations? How do I know at any point in time a snapshot of my organization at any point in time? I want to know what our profitability is. I want to know what our expenditures are. I want to know what our project portfolio is. I want to know existing projects that are executed. I may defer that to a PMO office, a project management office, or maybe a senior project manager. But I want to know, hey, this is where we are financially, and internally, what are the projects and what are the assets allocated to each project, and what is their availability? So then you think capacity and availability management, so on and so forth. Now, these are all processes that seem to be separate from BCP DRP, but they're not. They're not. You have to have. I'll simplify it for an IT manager. I'm an IT manager, so I'm going about my day, fighting fires. Trust me, I know how you feel. I used to be that guy. Fighting fires, barely keeping my head above, and completely taking a double take when my managers ask me to do an additional project on top of my firefighting. Like, I don't have enough work already. And, oh, by the way, your budget's been cut by 20%. You know what I feel. You know what I'm talking about. So let's say you have that kind of situation. If I'm going to create from a BCP perspective, I have to make sure that in the event of a server outage or a network outage or power outage or insert outage of type, event, cataclysm, any kind of catalyst to invoke the BCP, I want to make sure that I have some kind of mitigation strategies to sidestep it and continue operations over a period of time. That's BCP. You're not a BCP manager, but you're doing processes, you're executing processes, facilitating processes that are a part of BCP, business continuity planning. Now, I need to know, let's say something does hit the fan, how do I recover from it? How do I get my systems back up and running? That's disaster recovery planning. So I want to know what are the build instructions for a server. I want to have the gold images. I want to have the licenses in place. I want to have the VMs replicated and copied and log shipping back and forth. I want to have that type of information. That's disaster recovery planning. Now, whenever I make a change to the organization, I change a router. I make a change to the ingress-egress firewall rule sets or the access control lists, or I add a new application to the default corporate image, like for workstations or laptops. I've now made a change, right? And now I need to know or track it. And that's configuration management. So from borrowing from the ITIL hat, change, release, configuration, IT service continuity, capacity, availability management, that's all BCP DRP related activities. So in essence, you may use a different terminology. BCP, DRP, ITIL, ISO 20000, PCI DSS. There are all these different standards and perspectives, but they all speak to the same need and the same desire. So just to summarize my little rant, BCP and DRP is not dead. More aptly put, it's more integrated into every single process within the IT framework and within the corporate framework. And it's only going to get bigger as organizations become more complex. This is Guy Rosario from A&K Consulting. Just saying, keep your head up, keep your eyes open, and good luck.